6:39 p.m. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Stewardship Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at the southborough.town.com remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So the first item on the agenda is the minutes. Did anyone have any corrections or edits to the minutes?
I have a question.
Sure.
Clarification. So regarding the changing, when we did our site walk and we talked about moving the trail.
Correct.
In a different location, I wasn't sure that, did we vote on moving it, or the way the minutes read it looked like we voted to move it, but I thought we were discussing it at the site walk to whether we should move it. I could have missed that.
I think we put it on hold, so that's why I used the word establish. But you can correct me if that's wrong.
No, I just wanted to check in because it could be that I just misunderstood.
No, I don't think we did vote because there would be a.
I have a vote and.
Oh, wait. Freddie made a motion to establish a slightly upland and parallel trail. Yeah, and then we used the site walk to clarify so everyone had the same picture in their mind. Do you have concerns about that trail?
Well, I think a few of us had, did we leave that knowing that we were going to move it? Because I think one of the things we had talked about was moving it in means we cut into the open field a little bit more than is existing. And then the other point was it's muddy for a little while, not year round. So was it really worth moving and cutting all of that land out and closing in the field space?
Okay, so maybe I do have trails on the agenda for tonight, but I think the motion, and that unless we're looking to correct that part of the minutes, so we think we have it correct, so why don't we revisit it when we get to that point in the agenda?
Yeah, that's fine. And if this is what the group decided, I'm fine with that. I didn't have that in my brain as solidified, but I
understood.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, Freddie.
So, thank you. I just had a meltdown. Sorry. I dialed in and nobody unmuted me. I was like at the party, but nobody would let me in.
Well, I'm glad you're in now. We couldn't tell that you were muted. It didn't seem that you were.
Oh, there's two
Anyhow.
Freddies. There's two Freddies.
Yes, there are.
Oh.
I can
So
see you on my
just-
computer,
Okay,
and I dialed in on my phone so you can hear me.
gotcha.
So we're just doing the minute.
I heard everything.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great.
So I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, wait, I had a just a very minor thing.
Yeah.
I was being fun, sorry.
For the nuisance mosquito spraying, the season starts the first week of June.
Oh, okay. That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Anything else? Okay, Freddie made a motion to approve the minutes as amended, Freddie?
As amended for the date that's listed.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Catherine?
Somebody should say the date. I just don't have it in front of me.
May 21, 2020.
Okay, so I'll do the roll call
Yes.
vote. We have a motion to approve as amended.
In favor.
Catherine is in favor. Jenny?
In favor.
Freddie?
In favor.
Jim?
In favor.
I'm also in favor. The motion passes. The next item on our agenda is Town Forest. So anything to talk about there?
No, I think the last meeting, I was supposed to reach out to the scouts, contacts that I had with the scouts, and explore the various projects or interest in projects, and I did not do that, but I can do that before our next meeting. So I can do that over the weekend.
Okay, did anyone else have anything on Town Forest?
I was just gonna say that your scavenger hunt is very cute and we printed it out and we will either do it at Town Forest or our backyard or something at some point. So good job.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and a big shout out to Melissa who helped put it in its final form, and also to all of you who helped make it look nice, because I realized I was just not capable of making it look as nice, but I hope that people are downloading it. We've tried to get a count via the town, but of the number of hits it gets, but right now that isn't possible. So Melissa will let us know if anybody sends in pictures or anything, or you know, comments from doing the scavenger. Okay, and Melissa, anything on the management plan?
Nothing really new to report. I've kind of been focusing on the current stuff that's been going on between the gardens. So hopefully by the next couple meetings and when all the COVID stuff comes down, we'll get more time to focus on it.
Okay, I'll just keep putting it as a agenda item so that we can check in with you on it.
Can I
Okay,
just chime in? Because
yeah,
I'm not clear what's going on. We have a management plan. I thought she was just putting it in a different format. I'm not sure. It sounds like some of the conversation that there's new stuff going in that we haven't talked about. I just don't understand.
my understanding was that she was gonna spell out some of those projects that we talked about at meetings, I don't know, over the course of the winter. Yeah, I think it's all the stuff we've always talked about in a new format. Is that essentially correct, Melissa?
Yeah, I'm not taking anything that you guys haven't talked about.
Yeah, so my mistake that if I called it the new management plan, I should just say, you know, updating. Yeah,
Well,
so I don't think there's anything
I
different.
thought there was something, I was kind of excited about possibilities, but that Melissa was taking a class and there was new stuff from there that was going to be forthcoming. Or did I misunderstand that?
I guess that's more of like a formatting style and in importing kind of their resiliency I guess templates, you know, some of the information that they've gotten just from regions. So I guess that kind of puts more of the backup knowledge to what you guys have already implemented and maybe different spins or ideas, but it's not necessarily anything making up different projects at this point.
Okay, it just sounds like cool stuff that, you know, that might help us formulate how we do projects. So, I mean, I don't really know much about what it is. So I just think we should maybe be able to look at it before we approve the project and see if it changes anything we're doing. Resiliency is such a new thing that's, you know, it's like the hot word, but I don't really know everything it means. I know a little, but I know there's a lot more to it than what, you know, what people are generally think of. So I just think it's an opportunity I don't want us to miss
No,
having
so
the,
what this adaptation
time.
work, yeah, what this adaptation workbook does is you still pick out your goals and your projects, and then you kind of link them to some of the issues that are overarching in this area. So it doesn't offer new projects or information. It kind of gives you the background of it and kind of what else is going on for trends in your area.
It
Which
sounds
most of-
like it adds context.
Correct, yeah.
It probably puts in good words what we know in our hearts, but we haven't articulated.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you know, like we know why we're doing what we're doing, but, you know, it's not all spelled out. So hopefully it will be in line with that sort of information. Which is,
yeah,
I'm
and
very excited about the possibilities here. So I don't mean to sound negative. I just, you know, wasn't sure exactly what it was.
yeah, I think we're all excited about it, and I would presume once Melissa has a draft, that will be the a main agenda item of a
I'm
meeting.
here for another hour or so in a meeting. So yes, I
So
was going to go with you tomorrow.
okay,
Sorry.
that's all right. Updates on the land abutting Breakneck. I spoke to Melissa about this today, and there wasn't any, unless you found out something since we spoke, Melissa.
Nope, nothing new.
Okay, so I did follow up with the email to the planning and the conservation commissioners and the board of selectmen, which is an email I will have, we can post alongside the minutes on our public website. And I meant to forward it before the meeting, but I forgot. But it said all the things we talked about it saying, that we, you know, supported the land becoming part of Breakneck Hill, and we hoped it would be under the care and whatnot of the Conservation Commission, and that the stewards would manage it. So I did send that along within a day or two of our last meeting, and we'll get it posted alongside minutes, so it would, you know, is transparent to the meeting. So since there's
I would say
yeah,
with the you know, we've got the COVID stuff and the annual town meeting and elections. So maybe later this summer, we circle back and touch base on what the status of that, you know, because if you just send an info, there wasn't really a request there, was there? For them to talk to us? It's just,
I guess it was our recommendation that be how the land be considered, like under.
so we can put it on a future agenda. I'm sorry, I have a lag here, so it's hard talking. And then I interrupt and I don't mean to. Could we put it like a future agenda item to circle back, like what the status of that land is, which is a request after, you know, like in July or August? We don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Melissa, maybe you can help me keep track of that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, the next item was mosquito spraying. Jenny?
So we actually had an article go out in my Southborough on June the 2nd. There were like a few comments, and I just checked, there were 20 likes. I have no idea whether that's a lot or not a lot, but it's good, you know, we're getting, you know, exposure, and hopefully people will kind of think about, you know, possibly excluding their own land when they're, you know, noticing that our town conservation land is excluded from the spraying. We also, Jeff and I put out the no spray signs the middle of last week. Actually, I didn't pay attention today. Last week, Breakneck Hill, that road didn't get sprayed, so I'm not sure about this week. I was like hurriedly posting the list like right before this meeting. So, yeah, that's really all. So
One of the signs got smashed up.
where
I don't know
is
what
it?
happened.
Where is that sign?
It's on Breakneck Hill Road. As you walk from the community gardens, it's,
The
I'm not
first
sure
one.
exactly, about
You're
a half, I don't know which one it is, but it's like the pole is bent and the tin of the, I mean, it's still visible and all that, but
Mhm.
I don't know, I didn't notice tire tracks, maybe there were.
It
I
looks
don't
like
know how it got broken up.
something like a baseball bat.
Is that what it looked like?
That's what it looked like to me, yeah. There's something narrower than a baseball bat, but something hard.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
How did it rip the tin of the sign got ripped?
I think they just really whacked it
So
hard.
it's not just the pole that's bent, but the sign itself is like
Right.
as if somebody tore it. I guess a sharp baseball bat would do that.
Or like a tire iron, something like that.
Oh, yeah. I would say disappointing that so many streets were listed today, Jenny.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
I don't think we're gonna
Yes.
change that so much. Hopefully more people will take it upon themselves to exclude their land, you know?
So I would mention, and I can send it out for everyone to see. There was a study done out in the western part of the country for the western monarchs. They, just because it was one plant they could study, they tested all the milkweed and all of it in people's yards, on roadsides, in conservation land. It all came back contaminated with pesticides that they think is going to harm the monarchs population, but this sort of thing is going on everywhere. So, and it was like 85 different chemicals, of which most of them were toxic. I mean, there's a lot more research, and I've
Wow.
learned you're not supposed to say if they haven't done the science here, but I mean, I can't imagine that it's that much difference. And it just sort of went to how even people who think they're not spraying and stuff, how pervasive this poisoning of our environment is.
Yeah,
So everything you're doing, Jenny, is thank you and good for us, but there's more work to be done, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah, thank you, Jenny, and to Jeff for getting those
Thank you.
signs out. I know, having helped put them up last year, that it's not always that easy, and that there's poison ivy along the edge of the road, and it can be gravelly and challenging.
And not getting hit by vehicles.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
true. So a huge thank you for that. And I'm disappointed that one of the signs got damaged. I did see them because I've been on both those roads in the last couple of days. So, I thought, and actually I've noticed other no spray signs around my neighborhood. So maybe it's gaining some traction. So hopefully.
Oh.
Yes, Freddie?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I that's all I want to say. I want to thank Jenny.
The letter that Jenny worked on, I know she did a great job, and Amy Cassidy from the South Broken Land Foundation, she's on their board, and they jointly submitted the letter.
Right.
And because of that, I had that letter that then I was able to submit to the Metro West Conservation Alliance, and they put it in their newsletter that went out to the MCA members, which is a representation of the 36 towns in our watershed. So, it's not like I was talking about, this pervasiveness of the spray doesn't always just stay in one place, right? So, your efforts writing that letter helped get the message out to all those other towns, because the MCA didn't have the bandwidth to write up their own letter. So I was able to take that and add it to the newsletter. So, your good work is more than just here in town.
Good. Great.
And I think there's 21 likes now.
Oh.
Okay.
Is that a Facebook account?
Oh, I guess you can like comments on my Southborough. I didn't even know that. Because usually I am just reading the email digest and I just went to the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Updates on mowing. So I know that the DPW has been around. A big shout out to Jim and Freddie and Melissa for working with DPW and directing them on the mow. I also understand, and Melissa, maybe you can confirm this, that Twin Pines is possibly available again, and dealt with its tax issue. But any comments on, I mean, I know there were some bumps along the way with DPW, but are we happy with the mow job that they did?
I think they're doing a great job.
You
I
do?
spoke with the guys 3 times, and they went over the map with me twice, and I helped them clear up some questions they had, and really nice guys. I think they're enjoying the mowing a lot, and they got the perfect little tractor to do it with.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and this doesn't come out of our budget.
Wow.
Correct.
Or does it?
Or, well, Melissa, does it?
Nope.
No, it
Part of the
does.
town mowing, so all set.
That's wonderful.
So
Wow, that's great.
I would like to say that, anytime you try to do something new and it's a little bit complicated, what we want, or where we want, because around the gardens, we want an edge. And then we threw in this extra, the new Ecology Garden. And I think they did a great job. The bumps were just, it wasn't clear where we expected or how much we wanted done. And if you're not there to show them, and thank God Jim went with his, whatever you did for the markers for the pollinator gardens, because we had I had not a work crew, I had a volunteer group there yesterday. I'll talk about that when it comes up, but it wouldn't have been possible without that mow. And Jim made that happen, and it was done well, because you can't be in the tall grass getting into the pollinator gardens, because you're kind of sitting on the, well, you know how it is if you've been over there. You sit on the edge and your stuff is on the edge. So it made it a really nice work day.
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone for that. It seems like
And Melissa. Mostly
and Melissa
cooking it.
for working with Karen and the DPW. It seems.
Should we send them a thank you?
Should I send a thank you? I can. Should I email Karen?
Yeah, that we all decided we wanted to share our enthusiasm and appreciation, our enthusiastic appreciation.
Yeah, for working with them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that as chair.
And thank you, because Melissa's been very helpful being the middle person too.
Yeah, so maybe Melissa will get a special email too.
Maybe.
So fancy.
Okay, so I'm just writing, I just want to write that down so I don't lose my follow-up. Email Karen on mowing. Okay. So let's hope that that's sustained. A related topic to that I learned today was that because the DPW is going to be there so much, they put a barrel at the trailhead for trash and they will take it away.
Wow.
And I said, oh, I don't know if it's already there. Is it already there, Melissa?
I don't know. I haven't gone past to check.
I wasn't sure. Were they doing it at the trailhead? I thought it was just at the community garden.
Oh, maybe it is just at community gardens.
I thought it was at the main parking lot, but maybe I understood it wrong.
Okay, well, so historically, this committee has talked about the problem of dog litter and whether we ever wanted a barrel. And we always did not, because it's commonly the experience that once there's a barrel, there can be dumping and just more messes. And I think, Jim, you've spoken to that, right?
Yeah, it's, unless they're gonna empty it routinely, that would be okay, but if it starts overflowing ever, it's just really, really ugly.
Yeah, so I guess that I'll try and get by there in the next 2 days and notice if it's only at community gardens. And we'll just have to just keep an eye on it. Jim, I know your wife has a plot and you're at community gardens regularly. And I know Freddie's been around there a lot for ecology and whatnot. So it's just something I think we need to keep our eye on, because if we see that it becomes overflowing, like, I'm not going to want to see a barrel stay, but I can see where it could make a difference at community gardens where we've had so much plastic trash.
I think
So
you're
we've
right.
already had a lot. Every time I'm there, I'm picking up trash. People, I don't know what's the thing, but it just blows, and it's always down towards the ecology garden. It's over in the wetlands, and like big bags of empty whatever fertilizer, whatever they're using, and then the bags are just down in the wetlands. And maybe if we have a barrel, that will end. I don't know. People think they're gonna. I don't think they're just letting it. I don't know why it happens.
Yeah, so I think for now, let's watch it for the summer. Jim, maybe if you're there a lot helping with Eileen's plot, you could keep an eye and see if it's being regularly emptied. Melissa certainly anticipated in her conversations with Karen or others at the DPW that they expected to be around picking it up on a regular basis. So I think right now, I would suggest we be watchful waiting, and if it becomes a problem,
So I have a question. It might be, so if it is at the trailhead, and they're there often and they are dumping it, what happens in the fall or in the winter, maybe when they're not there so frequently, will that then become a problem? And obviously we're getting ahead of ourselves by sharing that. I think it's a great idea if it can be maintained, but it might be if it can't be maintained year round, then that might set up a different scenario.
yeah, that would we say, okay, it's fine till the first snow, and then we want it out of there because you're not going to be, to be there. So I think let's see how the summer goes, and then and actually just confirm that it really is only the one at community gardens. And maybe for now we don't have to do anything, but that's also an excellent point, Kat.
So when I spoke with Karen, because she never wanted to pick up the dog waste, and when you have barrels, people put their dog waste in the barrels with other trash. So maybe it will be a solution. But the other thing we have to look at, does it become a dog waste barrel with the resulting flies and stench of one big segment of dog waste? And then I wouldn't be in favor of I don't know why you wouldn't have it there in the winter. And so I think it's a great idea. They're willing to do it. Let's see what happens. Let's not say no before we find out how it works.
Exactly. So
right.
Do we need a vote on this for watchful waiting, or is that just a decision we can make without a vote?
We don't need a vote.
Okay,
I don't
so
think.
let's keep an eye on it. We have some things in mind about what might be good about it, what might be concerning, and so that's that. And actually that's a good segue to the trails. So this is a good time which is the next agenda item, and we can revisit what Kat brought up while we were discussing the minutes. So we had voted last time that establishing a slightly upland parallel trail, and Kat, you were raising whether we're cutting too much into the other parts of the field.
Yeah, did we confirm, like, was that the group consensus to go ahead and move the trail?
Can I jump in here? Because I just want to be careful what we say. We had a site walk and we all looked. Now we're discussing.
Yes,
We
okay,
had a prior vote.
Right.
Because
Thank
Correct, yeah.
so
Mhm.
we all have an opinion of what we saw. So now we're going to discuss what we saw. And I want to share that, as you know, I'm the one who presented it, and I think we can, I'd like to not make a decision right now, one way, like so that we have to reverse it. It can be a wait and see. We all saw, or what I saw on our site walk was that the trail that I was very concerned about being too wet was drier. I know that last year we had a rainy year and it was rainy a lot of it was wet a lot of the summer. It didn't, there were times, not just in the spring where it was hard to get through. But I also think when you see the new ecology garden that's going to go in, that may make a difference. And there were two things. One concern I have is that when you mow there, you don't want to, where the trail is now, that if you relocated it, that we still kept the other trail, or we didn't let that land become an invasive infestation. So it can still be managed by mowing. But that when you look at the new ecology garden, when it's done, it's actually going to be more of a meadow. And having the trail on the other side of it might help the ag weeds from growing into this new native plant meadow. So it's just a thing in the future, and it might look different when there's not as much land being disturbed as it might seem from how it looked the other day, just in the future.
Thank you, Freddie. Any other comments or concerns or observations based on our last meeting discussion and then subsequent site walk?
Yeah, so just
I
to
don't think we need to, sorry, I'm not advocating to put it in now like I was last time.
Jenny, you want to say something?
No, I think it's okay.
Okay to have the new trail?
No, I am definitely in favor of not making a decision now, and I would not necessarily want to put it in now. And I guess what Freddie said about maintaining the original trail, like I would be concerned about more invasives creeping in and just having a larger area of invasives, like creeping in from that, I guess it's like the kind of the east or southeastern side.
West side.
Yeah.
West side? Oh yeah, west. Yep. I got myself turned around.
Can I say what the value there in looking at it like that is? So is that, since we've been given oversight of the north and south pasture, we haven't done a lot of looking at potential of what else we would want or not want to do with the north pasture. So thinking about things doesn't mean we want to do them. And it's always the habitat versus the, every time you put a trail in, you're ruining somebody's habitat. And are they really necessary to improve the other uses of the land? Because we know people walk and they like walking, but it doesn't hurt to sometimes just, try to look at it with a new pair of glasses and see, is this where we want to do things, or is there potential? And I think for me, the coronavirus made me aware of how well used those trails are. And if this stays, as much social distancing for a longer period of time, but after the first rush, it doesn't seem to be overly crowded. That was one of the things that was sort of making me think about this, too many people on the trails. So.
Thank you, Freddie. Catherine, did you want to say something?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, Jim?
No, I'm pretty happy with what I see going on up there. Likewise, I think there's not too many people. It's been very comfortable. People have been very respectful. It's
Okay.
more better.
It's funny, while Freddie was talking, I was thinking, oh, she means the new trail will be that edge preventing some of the weeds getting in. I sort of was misunderstanding, but I think it's fine. I'm fine with putting the brakes on moving the trail. It's not like we can't do it in the future if we want to.
I did say both, Joyce. I said the new trail would help prevent non-native ag weeds getting in the new area we'll be seeding, but that's not for another year. And we can take a look. And that's not the only reason to put a trail in. And that wasn't my original reason for putting it in. It was just Ellen mentioned how much weed pressure there will be. But other people put meadows in with native plants, and they're dealing with weed pressure. So just have to be smart about it.
Okay, so it sounds like for now, we're saying, let's put the brakes on moving the trail.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item is the status of community gardens. And there had been some concern about where the compost pile was gonna go. And then I think DPW actually provided some compost and it got put in a certain place. So, and I think that place is near where all the planting for the bees are going. And so it just seems if that's the place that compost has been provided for gardeners to take from, it seems like maybe that should be the place additional stuff gets added to create more compost, unless that place where it's at is a problem. So I did reach out to the gardener who had expressed a lot of concerns about this and invited her to join us, and she declined. I think Jim and at a minimum, Jim and Freddie probably know where that pile is that I'm talking about.
So there's some confusion here.
Yeah.
There's a pile of like topsoil.
Yeah, loam.
Loam.
Yep.
And the mulch pile was really just a pile of weeds, seeds, and garbage and dog poop. I don't think we want that anywhere near the ecology garden. There's no need for it. It became a big, flies. I'm sorry, I'm not interested in doing the work we're doing at the community garden with dog poop everywhere and plastic bags and all the trash that people just used it as a trash place. And it's, if people weed their garden, it's not good weed seeds that we want, in the vicinity of the, of this, we're spending a lot of time we have work crews there all the time. So
I'm sorry, I guess I had misunderstood. I thought it was one pile was created and you're saying there's two piles. There's a mulch pile.
No, there's only the loam. They haven't started gardening to create the compost pile. And the compost pile was never used for compost. It just sat there. Did you ever see? Nobody managed it. It wasn't like making compost. It was just where people put the crap they didn't want in their garden. And there's still trash there that needs to be cleaned up from the last time that DPW took everything away. So like it wasn't like compost. Nothing to do with, they called it compost. So if they want to have a place to put their debris, their garden debris, and to have a plan for what they're going to do with it. So this back corner was sort of just a back corner, like where you just threw all your junk, in my mind. Did you ever see it used as compost, Jim?
No, right now I see people simply walking to the edge of the perimeter there and tossing it into whatever weeds are nearest their garden plot.
So
Like
maybe,
wherever the tall grass is,
What's that?
like where the tall grass is on the edges.
Yes, yes. It's only organic matter. It's only weeds that they've pulled from their plots. I don't see any, plastic is blowing around, but you know, I pick it up whenever I see it. But,
so the question is, though, do we want to ask for a set place to put their garden debris? Because we have a situation of likely escaped community garden mint that is acting as an invasive in the wetlands. Do we want people putting stuff that they're growing in the wetland area? And if it's, you know, is it better to have a one set pile, or I don't know what that big pile of junk was before. I mean, it just seemed to have been grown. Maybe it was just growing for years, and there were skids in there and all the, you know, any stakes and trash that people didn't want.
Right, but that's, I guess we're talking about whether to have we don't want that to continue or to happen again. And we want, now it's, do we think having some sort of designated compost for the weeds or garden plants, if they're thinning their vegetables or something, to go in versus tossing them into the wetlands? Where
We can't control what people do, but, you know, should we work with them to say, here's a better place? Because people are just, what's going to happen is they're just going to bring it down to where they used to bring it, I would imagine.
unless we move it up right against the road, right against Breakneck Hill, there's a nice area in there. You could easily do it, and that's not anywhere near the wetlands.
you mean like where
I
the
would-
driveway is?
To the, as you're facing the road to the left of the driveway.
Behind the shed? I mean, like between the road and the shed?
Yeah, in that area, yeah.
In the poison ivy bittersweet land,
Yeah,
we could, yeah, that would be not too far for them. And then if stuff needed to get dragged out by somebody, it's not too far from the parking lot or the roadway.
but you would need some way to inform people that's what they were to do with their waste organic type matter.
Well, to that end, we could have, you know, I could communicate, or Melissa could communicate with Isabel and have her let them know. In the one follow-up item I had on my list from our last meeting was to do a couple of signs to stick around community gardens, and that was the one thing I didn't get to. And I could include, one of the signs could say something like, you know, when you're pulling up weeds, put them in the spot between Breakneck Hill and the shed. And, you know, don't throw them in the wetlands.
It's a good
The
idea.
other thing is we can make a positive statement about the ecology garden, that it's there to, you know, they'll be seeing more butterflies and, you know, but also to help pollinate their vegetables. You know, put a positive spin on what's happening there. I've had some interest, but we haven't really done any. What we should do is outreach and, you know, sharing the great news of how wonderful this is going to be for them.
Yeah, so maybe does someone want to volunteer to write something up that I could then send to Isabel or Melissa? Would it be more appropriate to come from me or you?
Probably you at this point, but I'm more than welcome to help if you need it.
Well, I would copy you no matter what. So we could do a little education about the ecology and the expectation of pollinators. Invite them to, you know, take a look at the beautiful plants that have been planted there.
Not yet. We got a weed issue.
And use that as an opportunity to also say, you know, in our quest on managing conservation land to keep out invasives, we're asking them not to toss their weeds and whatnot into the wetlands, but to dispose of them in a pile. And, you know, there's going to be these barrels for their plastic waste, and just like gentle reminders without scolding, and that kind of thing. So if no one wants to volunteer, I will volunteer to write it, but I would probably want to share it to invite some edits, because so I don't forget an important point.
I can provide some information about the ecology garden, but not till after like Sunday, and then maybe I'll need a day to recuperate. And we've got annual town meeting this week.
Right. Okay,
And-
so Freddie, if you could early next week get me some bullet points, and I can.
Yeah, like not early next week is what I'm trying to hint at.
Not early next week. Yeah.
No, I'm coming off a just unbelievable amount of workload.
Yeah.
And we've had reading workshops and.
Yeah, so in the next many days, when you can, get me a couple of bullet points, and Jim or Kat or Jenny, if you also have some things, I can incorporate those, and then that will be translated to an email to Isabel that we would hope she would share with her gardeners, and also be used for the basis of, you know, maybe I could laminate it and put it on the shed, and use some of the things to make some of those signs that we talked about last time that I haven't gotten to. I mean, it's still early in the vegetable garden season. So.
Can you share what the concern with the member was there, so we don't bump heads? Did it have anything to do with ecology garden?
No, Melissa could say more, but I think she wasn't happy with the state of the soil in her plot. Is that fair, Melissa?
Yeah, you know, this year, just with the timing and the weather, as Karen nicely put it, they basically, you know, part of the garden kind of got baked like a brownie. So once they tilled it, you know, it was all nice and loose, and then the heavy rains and sun and heat kind of cemented a lot of it. So the soil was kind of rough. Then the DPW kind of went back and tried to help as many of the plots as they could. And then one member just had enough. So she had other ideas for composting and other stuff. So I told her that, you know, talk with Isabel and, you know, see what the options would be, but I think she's not going to be planting this year.
She wanted to add compost, you mean, to the soil?
No, she just, I mean, I guess yes in the long term, but she wanted, you know, to provide input on how to enrich the soil for upcoming years and such. So.
Like before, they used to let the cows poop there, I think. Is that what they did?
Yeah.
They put the cows there before they, well, at least they had that cow pie contest.
Yep.
And they put others, I mean, I think they even brought some in from, you know, with straw and stuff, and that helped maybe. I don't know. But is it typically the town adds compost to the soil?
Not when I was coordinator.
No, I mean, the town has usually never touched it. There just wasn't, because of COVID, there wasn't a tiller lined up. So since the DPW was doing work, they rented the tiller, and, you know, they went 10 inches deep and did it 4 ways, but just because of the unfortunate weather, it wasn't kind of what they were expecting from last year, but it was just
It
kind
happens
of
sometimes, you know,
yeah.
in different plots. That area is highly variable, from more clay soil in some parts to very loamy and well draining in other parts. So it's pretty variable. Okay, so I feel like I have some follow-up to do. I will start drafting and look forward to any bullet points that should be included to that email for Isabel the community garden coordinator, on the compost location, some information on the beecology, and
The chemicals.
a reminder
I'll send you
about
the legal
chemicals.
language.
And yeah, I mean, I don't want it to be a laundry list that repeats the rules the gardeners are already aware of, but given our concern about the bees and stuff, we want to be sure they're aware of the implications of what they do. Don't just affect their own garden. Okay. Okay, so the next thing is beecology. Is there anything, Freddie, I know you've had a lot of planting going on and whatnot.
Yeah, so it's been exciting, maybe because of the COVID situation that, and I don't know if this happened before our last meeting or not, but we had a work day with 10 people showed up. We social distanced, people wore masks, so it was safe on two levels, plus we were outside, and Jenny was there, and did I tell you we have a high school grad who is a regular volunteer there, and sometimes he brings his brother, so another high school student. So it's been really good. And then I put out the call, the other pollinator gardens that I kind of was like, we've got to figure them out because they're a lot of work, right? Well, I put out the call and we had, I don't know, maybe 8 people show up the other morning. And I had Ellen come in for the, as a consultant to make sure we're not weeding out the good plants. And it was wonderful. And everyone, again, social distancing, wearing masks, and we're outside. And one woman came and she said it was field day for the school, so there's no class. It was something they were supposed to do. So she thought it would be a good place to bring her 2 daughters to an actual field.
Oh.
And they helped weed. And then they were taking pictures of flowers and identifying them. Then they were running up and down the hill. And then they were so excited they found, I won't say where, but they found a nest with eggs in it. And were very careful, and they got a picture of that. So this was, your next generation, but also having fun. And, it was it kind of like an old fashioned quilting bee, social, working. And first Ellen was talking about plants, and it was funny. It's like, this is too much. I don't care. Put me to work. And I just said, okay, let's go. So some people want to know, and there's different ways of learning. So we got the mother said, she's actually a doctor, and coming during the day isn't great, but she said, she'd like to come in the afternoons or evenings, and she could bring some other friends. And we're going to try to set up where people will know a section and be comfortable and maybe adopt that corner or adopt those plants. And then, another woman brought her older daughter who's very interested in herbs, and she found a snake over somewhere. So I'm going to put her in touch with someone on the salt board doing that kind of work. And, we do our big night event. So, I mean, this is sort of taking a life of its own that's really pretty nice. I have regulars, and I have regular, I have a couple women who come all the time, and then I have other ones who come like once a week. And we've been there like 2-3 times a week. So,
well, Freddie, it's a testament to your organizational ability. I will say I got out once, and I think there was just 3 of us that day, me and Freddie and another woman. And it was a really wonderful experience for me, even though I had spent the entire morning and day before working in my own garden, that I enjoyed being able to help up there and see what was going on. I was sad not to be able to go this Wednesday and see Ellen, who I enjoy also, and who
she's coming back on the 20th.
But is that a weekend?
It's a Saturday.
So yeah, maybe I'll be able to get for some of that. So very Yeah, it's just awesome. And I know the day that I was there with Freddie and this woman, I think her name was Beth, like, I don't know, we just worked really well together, and it was just the few of us, but we got like a lot of really big things in the ground, and it felt good. So, and I know Jenny, you had
Well-
come out and helped also. I hope it was a good experience for you too.
Yeah, no, it was just really nice because now I'm like, oh, those 8 Monarda, I helped plant those, and I helped plant some
Pussy willow.
pussy willow, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
here's
Jim
the
did
big
the
secret.
fence. Thank you, Jim,
Oh,
too.
Jim was, I can't say enough about Jim and the water and the DPW for helping us, and Melissa, whatever, for arranging that. It has been a game changer. So, and who would know, we went from, I stepped on the dirt and I went up over my boot in mud to cracked, dry dirt. Thank goodness we have the water, but we have our own water line so that we're not interfering with the community gardeners when they want to water their vegetables. We're not like, no, I've got this huge thing to water and you can't have the hose. So thank you, Jim. And it's red, so we don't lose it. And then I just want to say that a little bit of it was we had these plants they weren't picked for this area. So it was a little hectic because I kept having to look and see what I thought would go where. And it was really rewarding when Ellen came the other day and didn't have any, like, oh, gotta move that. So she thought they were all in good places. We do have one problem with, I think it's a groundhog or a rabbit. And I planted plants outside the fence. So we found out what is the most favorite food of all is shad bush. Nothing else was touched except for now maybe the low growing blueberries. But anyhow, the next thing that has to happen is, because this wasn't soil prepped, the weeds, like there's a nice lawn growing. It's not lawn though, it's weeds. And now it's going to take over. And it's sort of 2/3 to 1/3. 1/3, we got that new loam in, so that had less weed pressure. And the other 2/3 was sort of what was in the community garden and what might be causing some angst. So we're going to have to do some weeding. We're supposed to put 3 to 6 inches of bark wood chips. Depending on the shrubs get more, and this is going to keep the weeds down. But when I talked to this other place Melissa put me in touch with, they said you don't put it down and plant into it. You plant and then put it around the plants. But I don't think they knew that I was going to have a field of weeds. So we may have to be putting cardboard down and then the bark mulch on top, except I have hundreds of plants still coming in. Rob has maybe 50 prunella coming in this weekend. And it's like, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to plant it. Like, we're going to have to weed before we plant. I'm not sure what and then the other thing is, Jim, you still have those seeds?
Yes, I do.
So the thought there was we would put cardboard down and then dirt on top and then plant the seeds. So now this comes to, Melissa still's here. There's that big pile of compost. Do you know what the goal for that, or can we, it says take what you need, and I need some after being mad that the pile was there. So
I think the
are you there,
goal,
Melissa?
yeah, the goal was just for the gardeners to use, I think at the, request of the one gardener that I believe is now gone. So you may want to touch base with Isabel, but I think it's just use it as you need it right now. I mean, with everyone else that has already planted, that's kind of used as a kind of a buffer if they need to build it up with some more usable soil. So I think they'll.
So
I
there's
wouldn't
like
expect-
100, I'm sorry, not 100. There's a couple of gardens that have the soil in there. Somebody brought it over, but nothing got planted.
Yes, people were bringing it over. Isabel showed up one day when I was there watering, and she asked me if that was for everybody, and I said yes. And then the next day, the DPW put a sign on it that said that it's free. Take as much as you want for your garden. So
Do you feel, Jim, that there's a lot of gardens that still want it? because they're already planted, they're not gonna put that on top, are they?
Yeah, there's no way, I could ever use it, or Eileen could, no.
So do you think it's fair game if I talk to Isabel that we use it?
Or you can use anything you want.
Yeah, I think actually telling Isabel is a nice way to go about it. Why couldn't we use it?
I just didn't want to take it if somebody was still like if somebody was planning on going there next week to put my garden in with all that beautiful dirt, and then they got there and it was gone. I don't want to cause any angst.
Well,
So I'll double check with Isabel.
how much are you gonna use? There's a
Well, you need
lot there.
what?
There's a lot there.
Rob wants 50 plugs planted a foot apart. And I need, 3 to 4 inches of dirt. 10 by 5, 10 by 8. I
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah,
I just know it's always more, you always use more than you think you're going to. And then there's the 30 yards of chips. And that was what I wanted to go to. So once we get to this next point, we're going to bring the chips in and mulch around the plants after we get the plants planted. And those would be dumped right about where that pile of dirt is, I'm thinking. I think, I don't know with wood chips, but with the loam, 20 yards was 10 wheelers. So they needed 2 10 wheelers. That's a big pile, I think.
Yeah,
And then I'm thinking, how am I going to get it in there? Will I have a wheel? Because we've already planted. It's not like you can just dump it over the side, but maybe in one corner we can. Maybe we can get a wheelbarrow inside. Would a wheelbarrow fit through that
yeah,
gate, Jim?
yep.
does DPW have
Beautiful
one we
tent.
can borrow? Because I don't think there's a wheelbarrow at community gardens.
Well, we can deal with that, but this is Twin Pines is who I'm thinking of using because they will give us the wood chips free, but they'll have to charge us to bring it over. And earlier we thought of trying to hook up with the DPW and we thought we weren't using them at all, but that was just a craziness because you'd have to, I won't go into it, but they'd have to load the truck because they don't have any way of, the DPW couldn't just load the truck. And, they're not going to bring a backhoe over to load the truck, right? And then there's this other company who might give us, we still need, once we get the other 3 pollinator gardens done, we need to wood chip them. And to get the wood chips up there, we have to drive in through the community gardens and over and up the hill and then dump it at the top of the hill because you're not going to go up the Wildflower Hill way with a truckload of wood chips. So then it's figuring out which is more cost effective because this other company will do the work but charge us for the material. And
Right.
Twin Pines will give us the material but charge us for trucking it. And I don't know that we want anyone doing the work anymore because Ellen said from her experience and what landscapers do, they just come in and they dump it all and they blow it and they, they're not really aware of fine gardening techniques around these, plants. So that's an ongoing decision. Okay. Whichever one we can do, 3 things, most affordable, give us the work we need in the time we need it done. Because we need it kind of soon, but I need to get it weeded before, or we could get the wood chips dumped and then have the volunteers who I'm hoping are going to stay and they can put it in. That might be the way to go.
Well, it sounds like good progress anyway, and I'm excited that Ellen will be back and that you've got some core volunteers and some options for wood chips and whatnot. So
So Freddie, you're talking about taking a big truck in past the farm pond, then up the hill through
Yeah,
trail used to be.
yeah.
Is that
That's
will
how they
leave,
go in.
yeah, that will leave 2 indents, probably semi-permanent indents in the grass. So something to consider,
That's how the trucks have always gone in.
right? It's just that people might start using that for a trail again,
Oh, because it will look like that trail's come back through the tall grass.
right?
So can't we put the signs up again?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can check. I'm gonna add to my list. I may have some of those trail closed signs in my shed.
Because I think it even said not a trail. It's a, alternate route or something we might have had. I get what you're
don't
saying, Jim, because
remember.
if it looks like a trail, people will use it.
Right. Right. Okay. All right.
Oh, always something, isn't it?
Hey, it's still like a lot has happened, and I think
Mhm.
that we should be celebrating that. So bravo to Freddie and Jim and all of you have been helping out on that front.
And you are all invited to join any of these work days. They're ongoing like I'm getting there tomorrow morning. So it's going to be muddy. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I probably won't be there tomorrow.
Yeah, we can't really do during the week.
Yeah, it's hard for me during the week.
Yeah,
But
we'll be there Saturday.
yeah, I definitely will try on the 20th and look forward to that.
No, this Saturday.
Um,
I'll show up to town meeting with muddy knees.
Okay, Eagle Scout updates is the next, and I know on Kat's list is to follow up with some troops, and I just always leave this on in case I do hear back from one of the Eagle Scouts or like that one that most recently reached out to me around the kiosk, and I have not heard back from him, so I have no updates unless someone else has heard from a scout. Yeah, I didn't think anyone had. And then I added this grant opportunity also as a regular part of our agenda. And some of us listened in last week to the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness program, which the town already has kind of a planning grant for, so that we can become a municipal vulnerability preparedness community. And the town is updating its hazard mitigation plan to make us eligible even for other things. Right now, there's some of these things are kind of still in play. As I understand, I wasn't able to listen to the whole, I got on that call a little bit late, but my understanding is that some of these things are kind of still in play, and that when there's a little more progress on these different grants and municipal vulnerability and hazard mitigation, we'll have a better sense of whether there's an opportunity for us. It sounds like for now could be more like stormwater management and some other things. Melissa had said she'd be able to keep us in the loop on how that progresses. So for now, I think it's just about being aware that there might be some possibility down the road there. Melissa, did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Melissa, is that plan published somewhere?
Not yet. So it takes the comments from the listening session and then it'll be updated. And once that is complete, probably within the next 2 weeks, then it'll be published.
So a little bit yet still to happen, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that the MVP plan, once you're approved, it gives you the ability to apply for the grants. And the grant ends somewhere in like June. something in June and they extended it a week, so we wouldn't make this year anyhow. So it's something to look at for next year. But that for us to know is that they like funding nature-based solutions.
Can you say that one more time? They like,
The state, so when you apply for any grant, they give you points, right?
Yep.
It's competitive. I forget what the number she said, but it was something like they had 100 applications and 50 got funded, right? You get more points for nature-based solutions.
nature-based.
What are those? We need to start looking into what they are. And it may not just be for our work, it's the stewardship committee, but certainly it might pertain to the town forest. You know, remember we looked at one time that there were trees that are going to make it and some that aren't. And, you know, what's our breakdown? Which ones are the ones that are, there's a lot of down trees. Are those that tend to, which ones are going down? Are we already seeing the effect of climate change? And one of the things that happens is when you have trees that fall down, you have sunlight and then you get invasives, or you could get the trees that are going to make it. I mean, that's just one little tiny thing to think about.
Gotcha.
One little tiny.
A little tiny.
But then we have to work with the town itself on what, you know, the town's goals are for grants. And I don't know how it plays out in that planning document that we're going to end up seeing in a few weeks.
Yeah, so I remember during the presentation, they said, oh, well, you should go read what some of the grants have been to get, and I had trouble like finding the right place through the links, but maybe we'll just keep an eye on that, because I would imagine some of the funded things will have a lot of examples of what those nature-based solutions look like that were funded. But yeah, sort of a little bit down the road for us, I wanted it to be on our awareness.
Yeah, and also, I haven't followed back up, but we should put my favorite and Jenny's too, the Mass Wildlife's grant.
Oh,
So I'll circle back, because I was sort of like, haven't heard anything. Like, I bet they don't even know if they're issuing it again this year, because it's always decided after they set the budget, I think. Which who knows when they're going to be doing that this year. But I should look into it.
All right, so I'm always going to include this as an agenda item, and so as we find out more about that one, we can revisit that as well. We had talked about it at a prior meeting, saying, you know, with everything going on, maybe it's just not the timing. Another thing about these municipal vulnerability preparation, these particular grants we were just talking about with the nature-based solutions, it's my understanding there has to be a 25% match from the town. So that can be a heavy lift in tight budget.
Is that dollars or in-kind support from volunteer hours? Would that count?
Dollars.
Dollars, thank you.
Dollars.
Way to make it hard.
But I believe we'd have to check it, but isn't the dollars, it can be town funding, right?
Well, yeah, I think it would have to be, yeah.
So, you know, then you have CPA. So you're talking about a 25% CPA. I'm not sure if that qualifies. We'd have to look into it, because the CPA has some state match in there. And sometimes they don't let you match state grants with state funds.
Yeah.
It's always something. I'm quoting what's her name a lot. Rosanna Dana.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's always something, Rosanna Dana.
Yeah.
We're giving our age away, Freddie.
We watch reruns.
That's right. Reruns, only reruns.
SNL.
Yep. Famous character by Gilda Radner. So the last item on the agenda is any other business properly before the committee. And if there isn't, then we can adjourn in record time and you can have your evenings back.
Record time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So
I make a motion to adjourn at
I'll second.
7:53, 7:54 PM.
All right, and
Roll call.
roll call. Jim,
Approve?
Kat,
In favor? Yeah.
Jenny,
In favor?
Freddie,
I'll vote in favor. Do I get to vote 2 times because I'm on the screen twice? No, just one.
No, but I will also vote in favor and the motion passes. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
great,
you.
9 o'clock tomorrow morning at Breakneck if anyone wants to dig in.
great. And
Or let me know a time that works for you and we'll set it up.